Good morning, friends. Today, our topic of discussion is digestion and absorption of the carbohydrates. This topic includes in the Moonlar Sugada University, the Pursalabhai. We are presenting this topic from Seth Ranglal Kothari Government College, Rajsamand. This topic is useful for the students of BSc as well as students of MSc classes. Subject Animal Physiology, paper first, unit first, and topic digestion, in which it is included. First of all, we go through the general principles of the digestion. The major foods on which the body, with the exception of the small quantities of the substances such as vitamins and minerals, can be classified as the carbohydrates, fats, and protein. They generally cannot be absorbed in their natural forms through the gastrointestinal mucosa, and for this reason they are useless as a nutrient without preliminary digestion. Now we come to the definitions of the digestion. Digestion is a process that is characterized by a specific sequence of the events following the ingestion of foods. These events allow the foods to interact with the various secretions such as enzymes, emulsifying agents, acids or alkaline substances, thereby facilitating the breakdown of the complex molecules into the simpler molecule under optimum pH. The various events as the simpler molecule The various events associated with the process of digestion includes the following. First, mixing and lubricating the food with secretion of the gastrointestinal tract ensure the uniform homogenization. Second, enzymatic secretion from the various glands and cells lining the GI tract break down complex molecule into the simpler molecules such as the oligomers, dimers, and monomers. All the digestive enzymes act as hydrolysis. The most gastrointestinal tract enzymes are secreted as inactive precursors, which are then activated the GI tract. Secretion of the acids or the biocarbonates from the GI tract ensure the optimum pH for the digestion. Fourth, in the case of the fats, secretion and emulsifying agents such as the bile acid helps in emulsifying the dietary fats, thereby promoting the fat digestion. Fifth and last one is the final digestion of the most oligomers and dimers occurs at the small intestine breast border, resulting in release of monomers, then they are finally absorbed. Therefore, our today's chapter discusses the process by which the carbohydrates are digested into small enough compounds for absorption and mechanism by which the digestive end product as well as water, electrolytes and other substances get absorbed. Now, today our prime topic for the discussion is digestion of the carbohydrates. Carbohydrate food of the diet. Only three major sources of the carbohydrate exist in normal human diet, and they are as follows. Sucrose, lactose, and starches are the major sources of the carbohydrate in the human diet. Sucrose is a disaccharide popularly known as cane sugar. Lactose is also a disaccharide found in milk and starch, which are the large polysaccharides present almost all the known animal foods, particularly in potatoes and different type of grains. Other carbohydrate ingested to a slight extent, which are amylose, glycogen, alcohol, lactic acid, pyruvic acid, pectins, dextrins, and minor quantities of the carbohydrate derivatives in the meat. The diet also contains large amount of cellulose, which is a carbohydrate. However, no enzyme is capable of hydrolyzing cellulose are secreted in the human digestive tract. Consequently, cellulose cannot be considered a food for the humans. Digestion of the carbohydrate begins in the mouth and stomach. When food is chewed, it is mixed with saliva and which contains the digestive enzyme styrene and alpha amylase secreted mainly by the parotid glands, and this enzyme hydrolyzes starch into the disaccharide maltose and other small polysaccharides of the glucose that contains 3 to 9 glucose molecules. However, the food remains in the mouth only for a short period, so the probably not more than 5% of the all the starches will have become hydrolyzed by the time of the food as swallowed. Stale digestion sometimes continues in the body and fundus of the stomach for the long as 1 hour before the food becomes mixed with the starch secretion. Activity of the salivary amylase is then blocked by the acids of the gastric secretion because the amylase is essentially inactive as an enzyme once the pH of the medium falls below the 4.0. Nevertheless, on an average before the food and its accompanying saliva become completely mixed with the gastric secretions. As much as 30 to 40% of the starches will have been hydrolyzed mainly from the maltose. Digestion of the carbohydrates in the small intestine. Digestion by the pancreatic amylase. Pancreatic secretion like the saliva contain a large quantities of the alpha amylase that is almost identical in its function to the alpha amylase of the saliva but is several times as powerful. Therefore, within 15 to 13 minutes after the chyme empties from the stomach into the duodenum and mixes with the pancreatic juices, virtually all the carbohydrates will have become digested. In general, carbohydrates are almost totally converted into the maltose and other small glucose polymers before passing beyond the duodenum or the upper jejunum. Hydrolysis of the disaccharides and small glucose polymers into the monosaccharides by the intestinal epithelial enzymes. The enterocytes lining of the villi of the small intestine contain 4 enzymes. These are lactase, sucrase, maltase, and alpha dextrinase, which are capable of splitting the disaccharides, lactose, sucrose, and maltose, plus other small glucose polymers into their constituents monosaccharides. And these enzymes are also located in the enterocytes, converting the intestinal microvilli brush border so the disaccharides are digested as they come in contact with these enterocytes. Lactose split into a molecule of galactose and molecule of glucose. Sucrose split into a molecule of fructose and maltose. Fructose and a molecule of the glucose. Maltose and all other small glucose polymers split into these multiple molecules of the glucose. Thus, the final product of the carbohydrate digestion are all monosaccharides and they are all water soluble and are absorbed immediately into the portal blood. The major steps in the carbohydrate digestion are again summarized in few figures. Anatomical basis of the absorption. Once the process of digestion has been completed at the breast border level of the enterocyte cells, they get absorbed. So now we comes to the anatomical basis of the absorption. The total quality of the fluid that makes be absorbed each day by the intestine is equal to the ingested fluid, about 1.5 liter, plus that secreted in the various GI secretions, about 7 liter, which comes to a total 8 to 9 liter. All but about 1.5 liter of this fluid is absorbed in a small intestine, leaving only 1.5 liter to pass through the ileocecal valve into the colon each day. The stomach is poor absorptive area of the GI tract because it lacks the typical villus type of absorptive membrane, and also because the junction between the epithelial cells are tight junctions. Only a few highly lipid soluble substances such as alcohol and some drugs, aspirin, can be absorbed in small intestine. Force of cracking villi and microvilli increases the mucosal absorptive area by the 90,000 fold. Next coming few figures demonstrate the absorptive surfaces of the small intestine mucosa, showing many fold called valvuli connectives for folds of Kerckering. It increases the surface area of the absorptive mucosa and about 3 folds. Also located on the epithelial surface of the small intestine all the way down to ileocecal valve are millions of small villi. These villi projects about 1 millimeter from the surface area of the mucosa. As shown in the surface area of valvuli convenience in the next figure 70.2, and the individual details of all in next one few figures. The presence of villi on the mucosal surface enhances the total absorptive area of another folds. Finally, each intestinal epithelial cells on each villus is characterized by a breast border consisting of as many as 1000 microvilli are then 1 micrometer in length and zero point 0.1 micrometer in diameter and protrude into the intestinal These microvilli are shown in the electron microscopes. This breast border increases the surface area exposed to the intestinal membrane. The Kerckering, which increases the surface area of the absorptive mucosa about 3 folds. Also located on the epithelial surface of the small intestine all the ways down to the ileocecal valve are millions of small villi, and these villi project about 1 millimeter from the surface area of the mucosa as shown in the surface. The valvuli convenience in the villi on the mucosal surface enhance the total absorptive surface area about 10 folds. Finally, each intestinal epithelial cell on each villus is characterized by a breast border consisting of as many as 1000 microvilli, about that are 1 micrometer in length and 0.1 micrometer in diameter and protrudes into the intestinal chyme. These microvilli are shown in the electron microscope. This brush boulder increases the surface area, expands to the intestinal material at least another 20-fold. Thus, combination of the all folds of the cracking, the villi and the microvilli increases the total absorptive area of mucosa perhaps 1000 folds, making tremendous total area of the 250 and more than square meters for the entire small intestine. About the surface area of the tennis court. Next, coming few figures shown in the longitudinal sections, the general organization of the villus, emphasizing the advantageous arrangement of the vascular system for the absorption of the fluid and dissolved material into the portal blood. The arrangement of the central lacteal lymph vessels for the absorption into the lymph. A cross section of the villus shows mainly small pinocytic vesicles which are pinched off portion of the enfolding enterocytes membrane from they forming vesicles of absorbed fluid that have been entrapped. A small amount of substances are absorbed by this physical process of pinocytosis, extending from the epithelial cells by body into the each microvilli rhythmically to cause continuous movement of the microvilli, keeping them continuously expands to new quantities of intestinal fluid. Absorption the small intestine each day consists of several hundred grams of the carbohydrate, 100 or more grams of fat, and 50 to 100 grams of amino acids, 50 to 100 grams of ions, and 7 to 8 liters of the water. The absorptive capacity of the normal small intestine is far greater than this each day, and as much as several kilograms of carbohydrate, 500 gram of fat, 500 to 700 gram of protein, and 20 or more liters of the water can be absorbed. The large intestine can absorb still more water, and through it can absorb very few nutrients. This is isoosmotic absorption of the water. Water is transported through the intestinal membrane entirely by diffusion. Furthermore, this diffusion obeys the usual law of osmosis. Therefore, when the chyme is dilute, enough water is absorbed through the intestinal mucosa into the blood of the villus, most entirely by the osmosis. Now we come to the figure in front of us. This figure represents the digestion of carbohydrates in various portions of gastrointestinal tract. First, mouth is an alpha amylase is a tyline enzyme secreted by the parotid glands and act on the starch to form maltose and glucose 3 to 9 polymers. Next come to the enzymes, which is alpha amylase. This enzyme is also known as tyline, secreted by the parotid glands. Action and digestion continues in the stomach for 1 hour. 30 to 40% of the starch is converted into the maltose and glucose from this polymer. Next enzyme come into the stomach is also an alpha amylase, but secretion of this alpha amylase takes through the pancreas, so that this enzyme is known as pancreatic alpha amylase. 50 to 80% starch is converted to the maltose and glucose polymers before passing beyond the duodenum or the upper jejunum. And last one portion of the small intestine secreting few enzymes for the digestion of the carbohydrates. These are lactase, maltase, and sucrase, and alpha dextrinase. These enzymes are present at the surface of the enterocyte cells lining of the villi. Lactose convert lactose converted by lactase into the galactose and glucose, sucrose by the sucrase into fructose and glucose, and maltose by maltase into glucose and glucose. And glucose polymers are converted into monosaccharides units of the glucose by the alpha dextrinase. The digestion of the carbohydrates. Whole process is summarized in the figure present in front of us. This figure also shows the action of the various enzymes and digestion of the carbohydrate and absorption too. Digestion of the carbohydrate, digestion and absorption of the carbohydrate in the GI tract is presented in this slide. This slide here you can observe very well. When food come into the stomach, this food particle consists of the carbohydrate constituents as lactose, sucrose, starch, D-xylose and maltose are present in the stomach. They when passes from the stomach or stomach is emptied into the duodenum. In the duodenum, secretion of the pancreas consists of pancreatic amylase. Secretion of pancreatic amylase takes place stimulated by the hormones of the secretin and cholecystokinin, which is also represented here. After the secretion of the pancreatic amylase, digestion of the carbohydrate takes place, but at the level of the breast borders or the enterocyte cells of the small intestine, there are present few enzymes, maltase, sucrase and lactase has also been represented at the turn of this intestine, which digest these disaccharide units into their respective monosaccharide units. They are then absorbed at the breast border level of the epithelial cells, and absorbed monosaccharides, absorbed glucose are poured into the portal vein. This next figure shows the final digestion of the carbohydrate. 80% glucose, 10% fructose and 10% galactose are the representative of the carbohydrates which get already digested. Here figure 70.2 in front of us, it also reflects the longitudinal section of the small intestine showing the valvulae conventives converted by the villi. Here is a microvilli with central lacteals and blood capillary ready for the absorption. TS and LS of the functional organization of the villi. Longitudinal section of the villus represents represents the central axis of the central lacteals, which is surrounded by blood capillaries of the veins and arteries. B portion is showing breast border of the enterocytes with blood capillaries, venules and arterioles and central lacteals. Epithelial cells are lying on the basement membrane, have been represented by this diagram. Now, it says that conversely, water can be transported in the opposite direction from the plasma into the chyme, and this type of transport occurs especially when hyperosmotic solutions are discharged from the stomach into the duodenum within the minutes. Sufficient water usually will be transferred by the osmosis to make chyme osmotic with the plasma. Absorption of the ions. Sodium is actively transported through the intestinal membrane. Twenty to 30 grams of the sodium is secreted in the intestinal secretion each day. In addition, average a person 5 to 8 grams of the sodium each day. Therefore, to prevent net loss of the sodium into the feces, the intestines must absorb 20 to 35 grams of the sodium each day, which is equal to about 1/7 of the all sodium present in the body. Whenever the significant amount of the intestinal secretion are lost to the exterior, as the exterior extreme diarrhea, the sodium reserves of the body can sometimes be depleted, so the lethal level within the hour. Normally, however, less than 0.5% of the intestinal sodium is lost in the feces each day because it is rapidly absorbed through the intestinal mucosa. Sodium also play an important role in helping to absorb sugars and amino acid, as a subsequent discussion reveals. The basic mechanism of sodium absorption from the intestine is shown in above mentioned figures, which represents how sodium is get absorbed in the intestine. Here is intestinal fluid and absorption of the H2O. This side represents the intestinal lumen and sodium ion, amino acid, sodium, glucose, sodium with amino acid that are co-transported into the cell. Sodium with glucose also are co-transported unidirectional flow, but sodium with hydrogen ion is antiport, which sodium is absorbed and hydrogen is released into the lumen of the intestine. In next one, it reflects the release of the carbonate ion, SO3 minus, and absorption of the chloride ion. This is sodium potassium pump, and this sodium potassium pump reflects the release of the sodium ion from the cell into the blood, and from blood potassium ion is absorbed into the cell. The sodium potassium pump, in which sodium and potassium ions are flows in opposite direction. Sodium absorption is powerful by the active transport of the sodium from the inside the epithelial cells through the basal and lateral walls of these cells into the paracellular spaces. The active transport sodium absorption is powered by active transport of the sodium from inside the epithelial cells through the basal and lateral walls of these cells into the paracellular spaces. This active transport obeys the usual laws of the active transport. It requires energy, and energy process is catalyzed by the appropriate adenosine triphosphate ATPase enzyme in the cell membrane. Part of the sodium is absorbed along with the chloride ions. In fact, the negatively charged chloride ions are mainly passively dragged by the positive electrical charge of the sodium ions. Active transport of sodium through the basolateral membranes of the cell reduce the sodium concentration inside the cell to a low value of less than 50 moles equal per liter, as shown in figure 70.5. Because the sodium concentration in the chyme is normally about 140 MEq per liter, about equal to that in the plasma, and sodium moves down this step electrochemical gradient from the epithelial cell cytoplasm. Sodium is also co-transported through the breast border membrane by the several specific carrier proteins, including the sodium glucotransporters and sodium amino acid co-transporters and sodium hydrogen exchangers. These are the three co-transporters of the sodium: sodium glucotransporters, sodium amino acid co-transporters, and sodium hydrogen exchangers. Osmosis of the water. The next step in the transport process is osmosis of the water by transcellular and paracellular pathways. This osmosis occurs because a large osmotic gradient has been created by the elevated concentration of the ions in the paracellular space. Much of this osmosis occurs through the tight junctions between the apical border of the epithelial cells. The paracellular pathway, but much also occurs through the cells themselves. This transcellular pathway osmosis movement of the water creates flow and fluid into the paracellular space and finally into the circulating blood of the venous. Adenosine greatly enhances the sodium absorption. When a person becomes dehydrated, large amount of the aldosterone are secreted by the cortices of the adrenal glands. Within 1 to 3 hours, this aldosterone causes increased activation of the enzymes and transport mechanism for the all aspects of the sodium absorption by the internal epithelium. The increased sodium absorption in turn causes secondary increases in the absorption of the chloride ions, waters, and some other substances. This effect of aldosterone is especially important in choline because it allows virtually no more of the sodium chlorides in the feces and also little water loss. Thus, the function of the aldosterone in the intestine tract is same as that achieved by the aldosterone in the renal tubules, which also serves to convert sodium chloride and water in the body when a person becomes depleted of the sodium chloride and dehydrated. Absence of chloride ions in the small intestine. In all the upper part of the small intestine, chloride ions absorption is rapid and occurs mainly by the diffusion. Absorption of the sodium ions through the epithelium creates a electronegativity in the chyme and electronegativity of the paracellular space between the epithelial cells. Chloride ions then moved along this electrical gradient to follow the sodium ions. Chloride is also absorbed across the breast border of the membrane of the parts of ileum and a large intestine by the breast border membrane chloride. Bicarbonate exchanger chloride exists the cell on the basolateral membrane through the chloride channels. Absorption of bicarbonate ions in the duodenum and jejunum. Often large quantities of the bicarbonate ions must be reabsorbed from the upper small intestine because large amount of the bicarbonate ions have been secreted into the duodenum in the absorbed in both pancreatic secretion and bile. The bicarbonate ions is absorbed in an indirect way as follows. When sodium ions are absorbed, moderate amount of the hydrogen ions are secreted into the lumen of the gut and the exchange for the sum of the sodium. These hydrogen ions can combine with the bicarbonate ions. Absorption of the chloride ion in the small intestine. In the upper part of the small intestine, chloride ion absorption is rapid and occurs mainly in the by diffusion. Absorption of the sodium ions through the epithelial creates a electronegativity in the chyme and electropositivity in the paracellular space between the epithelial cells. Chloride ions then move along the electrochemical gradient to follow the sodium ions, and chloride is also absorbed across the breast border membrane of the part of the ileum and large intestine by the breast border of the membrane. Chloride bicarbonate exchanger. Chloride exists in the cell on the basolateral membrane through the chloride channels. Absorption of the bicarbonate ions in the duodenum, jejunum, open large quantities of the bicarbonate ions must be reabsorbed from the upper small intestine because large amount of the bicarbonate ions have been secreted into the duodenum in the both pancreatic secretion and bile. The bicarbonate ions is absorbed in an indirect way as follow. When the sodium ions are absorbed, moderate amount of the hydrogen ions are secreted into the lumen of the gut in exchange for the sum of the sodium. These hydrogen ions in turn combine with the bicarbonate ions these bicarbonate ions is absorbed in an indirect way as when the sodium ions are into the lumen of the gut in exchange for the sum of the sodium ions to form carbonic acid H2CO3, which then dissociates to form water and carbon dioxide. This water remains as a partially absorbed into the blood and subsequently expired through the lungs. This process is the so-called active absorption of the bicarbonate ions. It is the same mechanism that occurs in the tubules of the kidney. Secretion of the bicarbonate and absorption of the chloride ions in the ileum and large intestine. The epithelial cells of the surface of the villi in the ileum as well as all the surfaces of the large intestine have a special capabilities of secreting bicarbonate ions in exchange for the absorption of the chloride ions. This capability of the important because it provides alkaline bicarbonate ions that neutralize acid produced forming by the bacteria in the large intestine. Active absorption of the calcium ions, potassium, magnesium and phosphate. Calcium ions are actively calcium ions are actively absorbed into the blood, especially from the duodenum, and the amount of the calcium ions absorbed is exactly controlled to supply of the daily needs of the body for calcium. One important factor controlling the calcium absorption is a parathormone secreted by the parathyroid gland and another vitamin D. Parathormone hormones actively activates vitamin D, and the activate vitamin D in turn greatly enhance the calcium absorption. These effects are discussed in next chapter. Iron iron are also actively absorbed from the small intestine. The principle of the iron absorption and regulation of this absorption in the proportion to the body need for the iron, especially for the formation of the hemoglobin. Potassium, magnesium, phosphate, and other probably still other ions can also be actively absorbed through the intestinal mucosa. In general, the movement of the ions are absorbed with ease and in great quantities. Bivalent ions are normally absorbed in the body in only small amount. For example, magnesium absorption of the calcium ion is only 1 upon 50 as great as the normal absorption of the sodium ions. Fortunately, only small quantities of small bivalent ions are normally required daily by the body. Absorption of the carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are mainly absorbed as monosaccharides. Essentially, all the carbohydrates in the food are absorbed in the form of monosaccharides. Only a small fraction is absorbed as disaccharides, and almost none is absorbed as a larger carbohydrate compounds. By far, the most abundant of the absorbed monosaccharides is glucose, which is usually accounts for more than 80% of the carbohydrate calories absorbed. The reason for this high percentage is that glucose is the final digestion process of our most abundant carbohydrate food and starches. The remaining 20% of the absorbed monosaccharide is composed almost entirely of the glucose and fructose. The galactose derived from the milk and fructose is one of the monosaccharide digested from the cane sugar. The steps in the carbohydrate digestion and absorption are summarized. Virtually all the monosaccharides are absorbed by the secondary active transport process. We will first discuss the glucose. Glucose is transported by the sodium co-transport mechanism. In the absence of sodium transport through the intestinal membrane, virtually no glucose can be absorbed because glucose absorption occurs in a co-transport mode with the active transport of the sodium. The transport of the sodium through the intestinal membrane occurs in two stages. First is active transport of the sodium ions through the basolateral membrane of the intestinal epithelial cells into the intestinal fluid, thereby depleting sodium inside the epithelial cell. Second, a decrease of the sodium inside the cells causes the sodium from the intestinal lumen to move through the breast border of the epithelial cells to the cell interior by process of a secondary active transport. Thus, the low concentration of the sodium inside the cell literally drags the sodium into the interior of the cell, and glucose is dragged along with it. Once inside the epithelial cells, other transport protein and enzymes cause facilitating diffusion of the glucose through the cell basolateral membrane into the paracellular space and form there into a blood. Summary. It is the initial active transport of the sodium through the basolateral membrane of the intestinal epithelial cells that provide the eventual force moving glucose through the membrane as well. Absorption of other monosaccharides. Galactose is transported by the almost exactly the same mechanism as glucose. Fructose transport does not occur by the sodium co-transport mechanism. Instead, fructose is transported by the facilitated diffusion all the way through the intestinal epithelium and is not coupled with the sodium co-transport. Much of the fructose on the entering the cell because phosphorylated it is then converted to the glucose and finally transported in the form of the glucose the rest of the way into the blood. Galactose is transported almost exactly the same mechanism as the glucose. Fructose transport does not occur by the sodium co-transport. Instead, fructose transport by the facilitated diffusion all the way through the intestinal epithelium as is coupled with the sodium co-transport. Much of the fructose on entering the cell becomes phosphorylated. Much of the fructose on entering the cell becomes phosphorylated and it is then converted to the glucose and finally transported to, in the form of glucose the rest of the way into the blood. Because fructose is not co-transported with sodium, its overall rate of transport is only about one half that of the glucose or the galactose. This is all about the digestion and absorption of the carbohydrates. Of course, few words and few sentences are repeated, but I think this lesson is prepared for the benefits of the students and hope it will become useful for our dear students. Have a good day. We will meet in next chapter. Thank you.